Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up with me, Rachel King. This is where we leave convention at the courtroom door and dive into your real stories, bold and unpopular opinions, and change-making ideas that really shake the legal world up and change where change is desperately needed. I'm here to shake it up, talk about unfiltered insights, and amplify voices that need to be heard. So are you ready? Let's get it. Put the gavels down and the voices up. Today, it is all about divorce drama. Maybe that's your jam. Maybe it's not. Maybe you know somebody who's gone through a divorce, or it's been you, or you hear about all of the celebrity divorces and love the reality TV shows or the daytime dramas that have to do with relationship fiascos and drama. But today we're going to focus all on divorce drama and how to detangle divorce. So I want to start by talking a little bit about divorce. This may seem absolutely obvious, but to get a divorce, you have to be married. And that is significant because as we go through the years, the amount of people that are getting married are really changing. If you are not legally married, then you do not need to get legally divorced. Now, there are some nuances where it comes to domestic partnerships and some things like that. You definitely want to talk to an attorney in your area if you are in some kind of relationship that is winding, right? To find out whether you need to get the court involved, what your rights are, and whether a divorce process is necessary. Let's talk about the drama and the legal truths involved in divorce. Oh, divorce. It's more than just a personal crisis. It is absolutely a legal labyrinth and can be not just emotionally overwhelming, but legally so complex that you want to put your head down, put the blankets over your pillow, and just crawl into a hole until it's all done. Unfortunately, as one of the people involved in a divorce, you don't get to just hide in a hole. It is actually you that has to participate in this to get through the maze to the other side. Like I said, you definitely want to talk to an attorney in your jurisdiction to see what the nuances is. For this, I'm going to talk specifically, if there's any little nuances, they're going to be with regard to California law because that's where my primary practice is. But still, nothing in this is legal advice. You should definitely talk to an attorney. And I am not establishing an attorney-client relationship. My goal in this is to really give an overview so that you have a starting point, right, as you navigate what you are about to head into, or if you're already involved in it and you're feeling totally overwhelmed, to give you maybe a path forward. So divorce requires, again, that you're married and then a legal filing. The first thing when you're talking about divorce is where you file your case. So if you got married in Alaska, for example, you don't necessarily need to get divorced in Alaska. If you live, say, in California or in Texas, you can still get divorced in California or in Texas, but you have to meet the jurisdictional requirements to file wherever you're living. So the first thing is, how and where do you file for divorce? The second thing, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion, I don't know, divorce is never, ever, in my opinion, the solution to get your marriage back on track. It is really an opportunity to say, hey, we tried this marriage, it didn't work, and so we're going to end it. But every now and then I get a client that comes in and says, oh my God, I hate my spouse, like driving me crazy. They do all of these things. If only they would change. I think I want to file a divorce. And my feelings on that is a divorce doesn't cause your spouse to change. It's really what I've witnessed, a huge violation of trust. It's a breakdown in the trust relationship. So it's probably not going to have your spouse come around and be like, oh my God, I miss you so much. That being said, I've known a couple of people that have gotten divorced and remarried, but let's not go into your divorce with that assumption. File for divorce where there's been an irreconcilable breakdown of the marriage and you are ready to be done with it. Make sense? So after you file for divorce, you figure out where you're going to file it. or your jurisdiction, then you figure out the paperwork that need to be done. I think most courthouses these days have either an in-person clerk's office where they can give you direction as to what forms you need. They will not give you legal advice, but they will help guide you in the forms that you need. There are many courthouses that are also providing services to provide legal advice, to help you figure out, how do I fill out these forms? What should I do? What do I need to do? Sometimes they're called the family law facilitators. Sometimes they're self-help clinics. Reach out to your court, find out what those are so you can get an idea of how to file the paperwork. In a nutshell, your divorce process will be filing the paperwork, serving the paperwork, either reaching an agreement or having the court make orders on the agreement, and then having a judgment be filed. That is a way oversimplified process. It can take people a couple of days to figure all of that out, and they're just waiting for the timelines. Or it can take people years and years and years. And I have clients and I know people that are married to the divorce. What do I think that means? I think that means you cannot bear the thought of being separate from this person. So you are going to fight through the divorce for as long as possible and hold on to it. I don't recommend that. I think it's incredibly stressful, but no matter how long your divorce takes, you're going to handle all of those same things. One of the big things that I think is important for people to know is that you want to have a support system. You want to go have friends and family members and counselors and all of the people that will tell you how and what to do in your divorce. And I can assure you that if you tell somebody that you are going to get divorced, whether it's at the bar or on Facebook or at the mom group or the football game for your kids, there's going to be plenty of people wanting to give you advice and tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't do and how it's going to be. And oftentimes it's based on their personal experience that they went through or that they know somebody who went through. And here's what I have to say to that. Those people, they're great for emotional support, but you should not be relying on anything that they say for what to expect in your divorce proceeding, because your facts are going to be completely different than their facts. And chances are that when they're telling you, oh my gosh, you get to take everything, it's going to be fine, you're going to be fine, you're going to take him or her to the cleaners because they had an affair, they're not entirely accurate. And it's probably that you're not getting all of the facts. So maybe it worked out that way in their case, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out that way in your case. And you need to go into your divorce trying to figure out how you're going to transition from married to unmarried in a way that's going to be the most successful for you. And what success looks like varies a lot based on what your financial position is, whether you have children or don't have children and what that looks like, your age, your health, a lot of different factors. So don't ever be afraid to make your own decisions in a divorce, but make sure when you're making your own decisions that you're doing it with the correct knowledge and information to do so. And now for a quick break. This episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up is proudly brought to you by King Law Firm, Attorneys at Law Incorporated. We're not just about winning cases, we're about making a difference. Whether it's family law, probate litigation, or standing up against elder abuse, we bring experience, empathy, and excellence to the courtroom. At King Law Firm, we're more than lawyers. We're your team, in your corner, advocating for your rights and making your voice heard. Visit us at thelawyerking.com and on the socials at The Lawyer King to see how we can fight for you and with you. King Law Firm, Attorneys at Law Incorporated, where your fight becomes our fight. Now let's get back to today's episode. A couple of things to know about divorce, at least in California, is that we are always going to be dealing with child support. We're always going to be dealing with spousal support. We're always going to be dealing with the division of assets and debts. It is necessary to understand that even if you have an agreement. So let's say there are no assets that you have during the marriage that you need to divide, or that there's separate property that needs to be divided. You still have to address that with the court and say, hey, there is nothing. Maybe there are no minor children. Great. You at least have to tell the court, hey, you don't need to worry about custody and visitation because we have no children. Maybe you have children, but you're like, nope, we're super great co-parents. We've got this down. We have an agreement. Court, I don't need an order from you. You have to tell that to the court and say, we got this. We're going to do it based on mutual agreement. Spousal support. Maybe it's a non-issue. Maybe both of you are completely self-supporting. That's great. I'm a big advocate of financial independence, whether you're in a marriage or you're not in a marriage. But I find that financial independence, or the road to it through and after divorce, really, really helps every single person involved to move on and to live their best self afterwards. I digress. If you are in a marriage that you're divorcing and you both have a good income, spousal support is not an issue. You're like, I don't need it. My spouse doesn't need it. You still have to tell the court, hey, we don't need this to be an issue. We're going to waive it. Same with debts, right? So even though you're thinking it's a non-issue, we've got this, or we reached an agreement, or we already divided all of the household furniture, you have to tell the court that. And I say this, I emphasize this, because so many times people get frustrated that they have reached an agreement. They've had a very amicable divorce. They've gotten the paperwork done and it keeps getting kicked back. And it's because the court is saying, hey, you didn't talk about all of the marital furniture, right? You didn't talk about the stuff. How did it get divided? You have to say, oh, we already divided it. Everybody takes what they have. So whatever your agreements are, you still need to formalize them in a document. And that is through a judgment. Again, you can oftentimes find the paperwork online, talk to some self-help, or maybe an unbundled attorney that can help you figure out how to draft it in a way that is what you agree on or what has happened, and you get judgment filed. But let's move on real quick and talk about the most hands down biggest issue that I deal with and I see in divorce, and that is support and child custody and visitation. If we go back to, let's say pre-90s, maybe even into the 90s, I think it is widely accepted that moms had some kind of preferential treatment when it came to custody and visitation. All right, guys, we're in 2024. And while the legal system is very slow to change, we have made huge progress on fathers' rights and the importance of a father in a child's life. Chances are, based wherever you live, but especially in California, if you are not a bad parent, and I don't mean your ex thinks you're a bad parent, I mean the law thinks you're a bad parent. So if you are not a bad parent, probably both mom and dad are going to get as much time as they want and they're able to have with the children. And then child support is going to be based on the actual time that you each have your kids. One of the biggest arguments that I get from people is, well, we have a 50-50 and equal timeshare. Why am I still paying child support? Well, because higher wage earner typically pays a lower wage earner in spousal support and child support, but specifically child support, even when there's an equal timeshare. Why? Because in both support situations, we're trying to get the kids or this lower wage earning spouse to come as close to the marital standard of living or the equal households as possible. Here's the trick. And this is for all of the people about spousal support, because I know there's a lot of people out there. Nobody likes spousal support. Let's just put that out there. The people collecting don't like spousal support because they think they're not getting enough. And the people paying it don't like spousal support because they don't want to have to pay it. Spousal support and child support. When we're married, we have one bucket of income, whether that's one person working, both people working, or everybody working multiple jobs. We have one bucket of income, and that one bucket of income supports one household. Now we get divorced and we have two households, typically the same amount of income, but we're dividing it into two. So while the goal is to have as close to the marital standard of living or the close to the same households for the kids, it's really not possible because you have the same amount of money that you're spreading in two instead of one, right? Let's go back to like basic fractions here. So higher wage earning parent is very likely to pay lower wage earning parent child support, even on an equal timeshare. Higher wage earning spouse is very likely to pay lower wage earning spouse. even for spousal support. The length of spousal support is for another video, and we'll go into what that looks like and how those work. Under both parts of support, there can be imputation of income. So you can't make somebody go to work. We have constitutional protections for that. But the court can come in and say, hey, you really have no right or reason not to work. So we're going to assume, for the sake of calculating support, that you are earning an income that's reasonable. And that can be full-time minimum wage, or it can be higher if we have somebody who's a doctor or a lawyer or has the skills and the history of earning a high income. Debts and assets, not quite as high ticket, right? We typically divide them in half. Every court, every case, every state has their own way of looking at that. In California, we're a community property state, so everything is divided equally, or you have an equal right to all of the assets that were earned during the marriage. There's a couple exceptions that go into separate property, but separate property is another time. For this, we're talking about marital assets. Same with debts. It doesn't really matter who the debt's name is. It could be a credit card in wife's name that everybody in the household used. That's going to be a marital debt that has to be split. Side note, assets are the same thing. The house could be in husband's name. That's cool. It's probably still going, if it was bought during the marriage and there was income earned during the marriage used to pay for it, it's probably still going to be considered a community property asset that can be divided. So marriage has drama. Divorce has drama too. The difference between divorce drama and marriage drama is marriage drama goes on for the entirety of the marriage, whereas divorce drama ends hopefully once you're divorced. Take that and chew on that for a bit. As you go through your divorce process, the most important thing for you to know is that you have the information, correct information, not information from the person that you met at the bar at 11 p.m. that was maybe 6 drinks in, but actual knowledge and information about your case, the laws in your area, so that you can make a decision that's going to work best for you. Because here's the thing, your friend, the bartender, even your lawyer, we don't have to live with the decisions that are made in a divorce. We get to talk and be there with you through it, or word vomit some advice, but ultimately you're living with it. So you need to be comfortable and empowered with knowledge as you go through this so that you can make decisions that are going to work. That doesn't mean that you fight for every single thing and you go into it thinking you're going to win and take this person down, but to understand how it's going to look for you. You are not alone in a divorce. There are so many people. Get a legal team that can help you. Get a support system that can help you. My goodness, get into therapy. If I could have every client get into therapy, I would be so happy because it gives them the strength, the courage, the wisdom, and the patience to get through their divorce process. Actually, through every legal process. Kids getting into therapy is also really helpful. If the kids are in therapy, that can help them learn how to communicate through a divorce process. That can be great. If you've been through a divorce or a child custody battle, I would love to hear about your experience. I think the more knowledge and stories we can put out there, the better. And in fact, I'm compiling a list of tricks, hacks, wish you know, what you could tell yourself before the divorce, through the process, and after. If you have an experience involving divorce drama, please send it my way and let's talk about it. A challenge that you haven't overcome? Man, we probably have a whole world of people that can fill in and give you some help as you get through this. My name's Rachel King. I am a lawyer at King Law Firm Attorneys at Law Incorporated, and know that almost all the time your life is better after the divorce than it was before. Next time, we'll talk about divorces in the limelight. Ooh, who doesn't want to hear about all of the big fancy divorces? Thanks for tuning in to Gobbles Down, Voices Up. Like what you heard? Then don't just sit there. Subscribe, share, and tell me your thoughts. I'm Rachel King, bringing not just my opinions to the mic, but about the courtroom too. Your part, keep listening, keep engaging, and until next time, let's keep those gobbles down and our voices up. Unmistakably up.